1. Accuracy game. Accuracy and ball control are critical components to all sports. Soccer is no exception. An accurate passer or shooter can mean the difference in a game. Accuracy helps a team increase their time of possession, which ultimately yields more scoring opportunities. Successful shooters are able to pick corners of the net and avoid the reach of the goalie. Therefore, accuracy is the foundation of all sports. And despite the old adage, accuracy can be taught. This is a great drill that conditions the athlete to pass and shoot accurately. Set up 2 cones, 3 to 5 feet apart from one another on one side of the shooter, and a second set of cones on the opposite side. The shooter stands a predetermined distance away from both cones, depending upon age and skill level, with 10 soccer balls. On the go command, the shooter will collect one of the balls and try to kick it through one of the sets of cones, acting as a small goal. For every successful accurate kick, the shooter receives a point. The shooter can alternate sides, kicking with both the dominant and non-dominant foot, as well as make the drill a competition with other teammates. More advanced players can shoot against the clock, simulating shooting under pressure, by trying to make 5 shots in 15 seconds. Participants can also back up with every successful shot to make each successive kick longer. No matter what age or skill level, it is never a bad idea to incorporate drills that work on a player's accuracy. 2. Basic footwork. Along with accuracy, ball control is a major component of winning soccer teams. Players who can maintain possession of the ball in face of oncoming defenders will provide a great advantage for their team. After all, you can't score without the ball. Therefore, players must be comfortable when they do receive possession. Dribbling tentatively or the wrong way, either by looking down at the ball while dribbling or kicking the ball out of one's possession, can lead to quick tackles and turnovers. Practicing common dribbles from cone to cone during practices, although may seem monotonous, is extremely important for building confidence with the ball and priceless ball control techniques. For example, players must not only be comfortable dribbling with both their left and right foot, they must also learn how to dribble with the inside of each foot, outside and instep. Dribbling on all parts of the foot will increase confidence with ball control and help evade defenders. Players should take time in each practice to review different dribbling techniques so they become second nature in the games. 3. Box to box. This drill works best with 2 players and stresses trapping techniques as well as long, accurate passes. The 2 players stand across the field from one another in small playing areas boxed off with cones. The size of the boxed area depends upon age and skill level of participants. On the go command, the pair passes the ball back and forth to each other in the air. When receiving the pass, the participants must play the ball out of the air by trapping the ball to the ground with their head, chest, knee, or foot. The boxed-off area forces the players to keep the ball close to the body off the trap, which in games is very important for maintaining possession of the ball. This technique may take some time and practice for younger players to master. After successfully trapping the ball and maintaining possession, the player must take one touch, all within the box, and pass the ball accurately back to his teammate. Players may go out of the box if the situation permits. If they have to leave the box to retrieve the ball, then they should play the ball back to their teammate from that position. Again, this drill is great for teaching traps, getting rid of the ball quickly, and accuracy. 4. Juggling. Juggling is a great skill to have in soccer, and it's a fun way of teaching ball control and trapping. Players never know how they're going to have to play the ball in games. Juggling conditions the player into feeling comfortable playing the ball off any part of the body and in any combination. Younger, less skilled players can start juggling with just the foot. The same foot using all surfaces of that foot, inside, outside, instep, and heel. Then they can graduate to alternating feet, juggling just with a thigh, thigh and foot, chest, thigh and foot. Players can finally work their way all around the world, which includes juggling the ball from their feet to their thigh, to their shoulder, to their head, and back down. Juggling may be the best way of improving one's ball control because it can be done alone and in a confined area. Younger players can juggle off each bounce on a blacktop or cement surface. Players will never know when they'll have to play the ball off their head, to their thighs, and down to their feet in games, all the while maintaining control in the face of an oncoming defender. However, taking time to improve one's juggling will make the transition seamless and the skill instinctive in games. 5. Heading game.
All right, and for proper techniques in defensive heading, we want our defender to keep his upper body as rigid, stiff as possible, shoulders back, striking through the bottom of the ball and generating power, shoulders back and coming forward. And Paul will just show one.
Heading the ball down the field is a quick, great way of avoiding defenders and clearing the ball away from trouble. It's essential for defenders to learn how to head the ball correctly for generating maximum distance. In this drill, a player stands in the 18-yard box in front of the goal. A coach places cones down the field, acting as markers, measuring the player's distances of each headed ball. The objective is to head the ball to the farthest cone. Remember, it is important to arch the body back and pull through the ball to create an explosive heading technique. Defenders should never head the ball to the center of the field during games, always to the sidelines, away from their goal area. Like most drills, this heading game can be turned into a competition. Coaches can even add an offensive player to battle the defender for control of the ball out of the air to simulate more realistic game-like conditions. 6. Endurance test. Soccer is a great test of endurance. It's a game of constant motion. Even when a player does not have possession of the soccer ball in a game, he should still be moving to create passing and shooting lanes. Therefore, soccer players should be in great physical shape. Coaches can improve their players' endurance in a combination of soccer-related and non-soccer-related physical tests. Here, players dribble back and forth 3 times between 2 cones a predetermined distance apart, depending upon age and skill level of the participants. Coaches can call out different dribbling techniques for the players to rehearse, such as dribbling with the inside of the foot, outside of the foot, and the instep. Players should always dribble with their heads up in practice, so that it becomes second nature in games. After dribbling to a cone and back 3 times, the players can perform a set of push-ups, followed by a set of sit-ups, the amount determined by the coach. The players then juggle the ball down to the cone and back, using all of the juggling fundamentals discussed earlier. And when they return, they can jump over the ball from side to side. Coaches can have their players race against one another or against the clock. Coaches are encouraged to be creative when coming up with different ways to test a player's endurance. However, it is probably best to incorporate as many with the ball as possible to increase touches, and so the drill has a dual purpose. 7. Soccer tennis. This is another fun game that stresses trapping and collecting balls. Set up a large playing area, boxed off with cones. The playing area is also split in half with a line of cones that represents a net, like a tennis net. 2 teams stand on opposite sides of the mock net. This game can be played in any number of combinations, either 1v1, 2v2, or 3v3, depending on the size of the playing area. Here we see 2 players squaring off against one highly skilled player. The object of the game is to play balls in the air over the net to the opposing team. After only 1 bounce, the opposing team must trap the ball using any body part, collect the ball after 1 bounce, and return the ball over the net to the other team. Like a tennis match, the 2 teams continue to volley the ball back and forth over the net until one team misplays the ball off the trap or cannot get to the ball after 1 bounce. When trapping, players must remember not to let the ball fall too far away from their body, because in games, that will allow for defenders to steal the ball away from them. Games can be played to any score depending upon practice time. More skilled players can play this game trapping and returning the ball off of no bounces. 8. Heading competition. This is a variation of the previous defensive heading game described earlier. In this drill, a coach adds an offensive player to jockey with a defensive player for a ball served in the air by a coach or a teammate. The defensive player must clear the ball away by heading the ball up the field. The offensive player must try to score by heading the ball back over the defender and into the net. Remember, when heading the ball, players want to explode through the ball with their head, making contact on the center of the ball with their forehead by their hairline. Always remember to follow through. The offensive player trying to score must find a clear path to the ball, avoid being boxed off by the defender, time his jump, and angle his head in such a way that he can head the ball backwards or sideways into the net. Again, coaches can make this drill a competition. For every goal scored, the offensive player receives a point. For every ball cleared past a cone up the field, the defensive player receives a point. For younger players, coaches can deflate the soccer balls a little until they learn the correct technique. Offensive and defensive players can rotate after a predetermined amount of time. 9. Soccer pinball. This is a dual-purpose drill that works on a player's receiving and passing techniques, as well as helps with their conditioning. 2 players stand adjacent to one another with balls and alternate passing to a player who continues to run back and forth in between 2 cones, performing give and goes with each stationary passer. Beginning players can perform this drill by returning the passes off of one touch. In order to protect the ball from defenders in games, players want to receive the ball with a soft foot, so the ball doesn't stray too far from the player's foundation. When receiving the ball, players should give a little with their foot, like a hockey player does with their stick when receiving a puck. When passing the ball on the ground, players want to strike the ball with the inside of their foot on the top of the ball to create front spin. If the ball is struck by the bottom, backspin will be created, and the ball will leave the ground and bounce erratically to the target, making it difficult for the teammate to handle. After a predetermined amount of time, the coach will yell, "Switch," and the players will rotate. More advanced players can perform the drill with only one touch. This drill can also be performed with foot volleys. Players can volley the ball back to the stationary passers after one bounce or out of the air. This is a great drill that emphasizes ball control. 10. Soccer pinball variation. This is a variation of the previous soccer pinball drill. In this drill, the active player begins with her back to one of the stationary passers. The stationary passer will yell out a body part for the player to trap the ball with, and then toss the ball in the air. The active player will immediately turn around, find the tossed ball out of the air, and perform a trap with the aforementioned body part. The tossers can call out head, chest, knee, or foot. After returning the ball back to the tosser, the active player will repeat the drill with the second stationary passer. Beginning with the players' backs to the tossers will simulate game-like situations. In games, players rarely see the ball clearly all the way to their position. Sometimes the ball sneaks up on them, and they must react quickly and know what to do with the ball right away. Therefore, trapping the ball with all parts of the body must become second nature to the players, especially in tight situations. 11. Head catch.
Head. 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 Catch.
This is a popular drill amongst players that challenges their ability to think quickly on their feet.
Catch. Catch.
This drill requires one coach or player as a tosser and works well with any number of participants. The coach will toss the ball to any of the participants and either yell out head or catch.
Head.
If the coach yells head, the player must catch the ball. If the coach yells out catch, the player must head the ball back to the coach. Therefore, the participants must perform the opposite of what the coach calls out. It is a mentally challenging game with a quick pace. Players can keep score. Again, this drill teaches players to think on their feet, and it's a great way of breaking up practice. Incorporate this drill with some of the more physically challenging drills. 12. Bounce drill. This is a great drill that teaches the importance of getting to the ball quickly and beating one's opponents. Here a coach throws a ball high into the air. The player must run around a cone and trap the ball after one bounce. The coach can increase the degree of difficulty with every toss by throwing the ball farther and not as high. Like many of the previous drills, the bounce drill can become a competition between 2 or more players. The last man standing wins. Hopefully, practicing a drill like this will translate quicker steps to the ball in games. This drill works well with a minimum amount of players and in a confined area. 13. Corner shooting. In this drill, players again work on their accuracy by shooting at the far corner of the net, which is the best placement for a shot because it's the hardest area for a goalie to defend. Players, each with a soccer ball, line up in front of a coach who becomes a stationary wall passer in this drill. The first in line passes his ball to the coach, who redirects the ball toward the middle of the 18-yard box in front of the net. The player runs after the pass and tries to score in between a cone and the far corner of the net. The shooter then retrieves his ball and returns to the end of the line. This drill will condition the players to develop accuracy, pick corners in games, and to not shoot blindly without thought or direction. When shooting, a player should plant his non-kicking foot beside the ball, bring the kicking foot back so that the heel is almost touching his back, transfer the weight, and strike the ball with the laces and follow through by landing on the same foot that he kicked with. A coach can add a defender in this drill or even a goalie to force the shooters into making more accurate shots. 14. Right, left. In this drill, a coach places a flag or a cone in the middle of the net. The line of shooters begins at midfield. A coach plays a ball toward the net and yells out either right or left.
Left.
Depending upon which side of the net the coach called out, the player will run to the ball and either shoot the ball left of the flag or right of the flag. Players love shooting drills. Coaches should not deny them to their players.
Left.
Think of creative ways to incorporate shooting drills with accuracy games.
Right.
Make all drills have a dual purpose. Coaches can also have their players trap the ball before taking an accurate shot. Remember that young players enjoy competitive games. 15. Right, left with defender. This is a variation of the previous drill. Here we add a defender who starts a few steps behind the offensive player, which simulates more realistic game situations. Not only will the offensive player have to aim his shot either left of the flag or right of the flag, depending upon which side the coach called out, he will also have to make an accurate shot with a defender breathing down his neck. Very rarely in games will a player have an unchallenged route to the net. It's a good idea in practice to simulate the pressure of a chasing defender. This will make for more accurate, confident shooters in games. 16. Crosses.
The side-on volley, we want our player to have his body torqued, and as he approaches the ball, come over the ball and strike the top half of the ball.
Coaches should always find time during practice to run through crosses. Crosses are one of the most common and best ways to set up scoring opportunities. Crosses occur when a wing player takes the ball down the sideline and centers the ball to one of his teammates in front of the goal. Many times, the forwards in front of the net trying to score have to handle the ball out of the air from their wing teammates. If they take the time to trap the ball out of the air, collect it to their feet, and set up the shot, Then they could be allowing defenders and the goalie to better position themselves for defending the shot. Offensive players must be comfortable volleying the ball out of the air from across while trying to score, because they may beat the defender to the ball for a more clear shot or catch their opponents off guard. Remember, when volleying a ball, players should take a good angle to the ball and practice the proper volley techniques illustrated earlier. 17. Crossing heads. An alternative to volleying crosses is to head the ball. Heading is one of the most prominent scoring methods in most levels of soccer, and is an important skill to learn on the youth level. Heading is one of the quickest and most explosive ways to shoot a ball out of the air, if done properly. Youth players tend to attack the ball tentatively with their head, which not only can lead to a change of possession and a missed scoring opportunity, but can also lead to an injury. Constantly reviewing heading drills and techniques in games will build a team's confidence. In this drill, the coach becomes a defender, trying to obstruct his opponent's path to heading the ball on the net. The offensive player must beat his coach to the ball, finding the best angle and path, time his jump, and head the ball over the defender for an accurate shot. Players cannot push off one another to break away from their opponent. 18. Bending balls. Being able to curve one shot or pass is a great skill to have. It creates open running paths for teammates and allows shooters to get off shots from difficult angles. In this drill, players line up at one of the corners of the field, adjacent to the net, as if they were going to take a corner kick. Here the players compete to put the ball in the net. Trying to score from this position would be impossible without putting some bend on the ball. Each player takes 3 consecutive shots. First with the inside of his dominant foot, second with the outside of his dominant foot, and third with his non-dominant foot. All 3 shots, the player tries to curve the ball into the net. In order to bend the ball, the player must strike the outside of the ball, creating heavy spin towards the net. This is not an easy skill to master. Players should not be too concerned if they can't do this right away. Remember, practice is the key to success. 19. Juggling team. This is a variation of the previous juggling drill. Here, 3 players line up with 1 ball. The player in the middle juggles the ball and volleys a pass to one of his partners, who will continue to try to juggle the ball off the pass. The 3 players will attempt to juggle and pass the ball to one another without having the ball touch the ground. Each player follows his pass. A coach can call out different parts of the body for the players to juggle the ball with, such as thigh foot, as illustrated here. After a predetermined amount of time, the coach can have the players change to juggling with their chest and foot. And for more experienced players, coaches can challenge their players by calling out thigh, head. Players never know what combinations they'll have to juggle a ball with in games to avoid defenders. This is a great drill for conditioning ball control and teamwork. Drills like this are great for increasing ball control confidence. 20. Juggling circle. This is a variation of the previous juggling drill. In this drill, players form a circle and juggle a ball to one another. The player who just completed his series of juggles must call out how many juggles he wants his teammate to perform.
2, 1.
The drill can become a competition, each player trying to get the others to misplay the ball. It's best to have only the players call out either 1, 2, or 3 juggles in order to keep the competition fair and moving along. Youth players love to juggle, and coaches should try to incorporate at least 1 juggling drill per practice. There are definite benefits to practicing juggling, such as getting the players comfortable playing the ball off any part of the body. 21. Soccer catch. This drill is comparable to having a long toss in baseball because it stresses many of the same benefits. Two partners stand a good distance away from one another, and they alternate passing accurate, lofted, and driven balls. Like a pre-game warm-up catch in baseball, this drill is great for stretching out one's passes and loosening up the muscles. It's also a great way to build accuracy across long distances, as well as trapping passes out of the air. Here the players must serve the ball to their partner on the second touch. The passing partners can move one step back after every successful pass. As the players get used to making long passes, coaches will see this drill being performed without the players having to chase the balls all over the field. (22) Ball over crossbar. In this drill, a coach or player stands behind the net with a collection of soccer balls. Two players stand in front of the net at the top of the box. One the designated defender, and the other the designated shooter. The coach or player behind the net chips a ball over the goal crossbar. The defender runs in front of the goal and becomes the goalie. The offensive player tries to head the ball past him. The players switch offense and defense after each turn, and they can keep score. This is a great drill because it allows players to try something they might not normally have a chance to do in practice or games. Play the goalkeeper. Plus, the drill also gives the shooters an opportunity to shoot against a goalie and not an empty net. 23. Post players. Half the team lines up at one goal post. The other half lines up on the other side. A coach stands at midfield with soccer balls. On the go command, the coach kicks a ball toward the net. The first player in each line runs out and engages in a 1v1 situation. They battle each other for possession of the ball. Whoever gains control becomes the offensive player and tries to score. His opponent becomes the defensive player and either tries to steal the ball, become the offensive player, and try to score or clear the ball upfield down the sidelines. This is an effective drill that simulates game-like conditions. Offensive players have the chance of working on their footwork skills and shooting fundamentals. Defensive players can practice their shielding and tackling techniques. The most important thing that players should take from this drill is to beat their opponents to a loose ball. Never let up. Winning possession could mean the difference in winning the game. 24. Four corners. Four corners is a great shooting drill because it allows for a lot of repetitions in a short period of time. This drill can be performed with just 4 players or with an entire team. If the entire team is available for practice, then the coach can break the team up into groups of 4. 2 of the groups line up with the balls against both goalposts. They face the other 2 groups, which form lines 20 to 30 yards out without balls. The first players in the lines by the goalpost pass their balls one at a time to the first players in the line diagonal to them. On the cross, they charge the ball and take a shot on an empty net. After the first players in line perform this drill, they all rotate counterclockwise to the next line. All players must know where to rotate so not to disrupt the pace of the drill. And all shooters retrieve their own ball before going to the end of the passing line. Mastering the shooting fundamentals discussed in the previous drills, such as staying square and balanced to the ball, kicking the ball with the laces, and landing on the kicking foot, should always be emphasized. Shooters should also aim for certain parts of the net to simulate more realistic game situations. Coaches can add a keeper to try to force the players to shoot for the corners of the net. 25. Bend crosses. This is a variation of the bending balls drill discussed earlier. Here the players tried to lead one another with passes by bending or curving the ball toward a particular part of the field. Cones can be set up as markers for players to try to bend their ball around. Remember to add spin to the ball by striking the outside of the ball with the right foot if you want the ball to curve right, or the inside of the ball with the right foot if you want to curve the ball left. The ball moves in the opposite direction when kicking with the left foot. It cannot be overstressed how useful this skill can be in games. Again, players should not get too down on themselves if they cannot add bend to the ball right away. In this drill, players take turns crossing the ball to each other up and down the field. It is important for all of the players to get used to making the crosses with each foot, which is why coaches should have teammates running down both sidelines. Soccer is truly an ambidextrous sport. If a player can only kick with his dominant foot, then he is at a disadvantage. 26. Short give and goes. This drill is ideal with 4 players, but can also be performed with an entire team. Only 1 ball is needed in this drill. 2 lines face one another and are separated by 25 feet. The first player in one of the lines passes the ball to the first player in the opposite line. As he follows his pass, the player with the ball passes the ball back to the original passer for a quick give and go before passing to the second player in the first line. All of the players continue rotating through both lines, performing give and goes along the way. This is a great drill that emphasizes teamwork and promotes proper passing. Players must always lead their teammates when passing. They should communicate to one another in practice so they're better equipped for the games. Communication is the key to success. (27) Basic skills. It is never too late in the season to review basic skills. You've seen many productive shooting drills in this video. However, if the participating players do not follow the proper shooting techniques, then the drills won't be as effective. When practicing form shooting, players should repeat kicking stationary balls, balls moving toward them, and balls moving away from them. All 3 scenarios are common in games and have the same shooting fundamentals. Remember, the basis for all sound shots is balance and weight transfer. If a shooter is not balanced when striking the ball, velocity and accuracy will suffer. In order to be properly balanced, the shooter's non-kicking foot must be planted by the side of the ball and pointed toward the intended target. The shooter's body weight should also be directly over the ball. A common mistake in shooting is to lean back when kicking the ball. If the shooter's body weight is behind the ball, then he will not end up in a balanced position because all of his momentum will carry the body away from the ball when it's kicked, thus sacrificing striking power. Shooters should try to bend their shooting leg as far back as they can prior to striking the ball. The farther back the leg extends, the more potential energy will be stored for when the ball is struck, which yields a much more powerful shot. The shooter's head should be down and the eye should be fixed on the ball. The shooter strikes the ball with the inside laces, not the toes, and follows through by landing on the kicking foot. Players can also practice shooting after a chest trap. Players should arch their backs, catch the ball on their chest, and angle the ball down to their feet for an easy position for shooting.